Since the dawn of time, assassination has been used to remove political opponents, enemies, and anyone who might be seen as a threat. Most assassinations were carried out by the gun or sword, but every so often those plotting the downfall of their enemies get creative and come up with some truly odd plans. These are my choices for 5 of the most bizarre, real-life assassination plots. Number 5. The Exploding Chocolate Bar. This plot takes the phrase death by chocolate to a whole new level. With World War II dragging on for longer than Hitler had anticipated, the Germans were becoming more and more desperate to remove Britain from the war. Churchill stubbornly refused to even contemplate making peace with Nazi Germany, and so bizarre and elaborate plots were put into motion in an effort to kill him, and thus potentially opening Britain up for a peace deal. One of the weirdest plots centred around taking advantage of Churchill's well-known sweet tooth. Instead of simply poisoning the chocolate, for some reason it was decided that the chocolate bars should be turned into bombs. Explosive devices were to be coated with a thin layer of dark chocolate and enclosed in expensive-looking packaging. Undercover German agents working in Britain would then plant the chocolate bombs inside the dining room used by Churchill's war cabinet. Once a piece of chocolate at the end of the bar was broken off, the bomb would detonate after 7 seconds with enough force to kill anyone nearby. Luckily for Churchill, the plot was never carried out. British spies discovered the plans for the chocolate bombs, and from then on, extra attention was paid to any item that would find its way into Churchill's presence. Number 4. Emperor Nero. Julia Agrippina, also known as Agrippina the Younger, was the mother of the infamous Roman Emperor Nero, who reigned between 54 AD and 68 AD. She was known to be a ruthless and ambitious woman, and her son soon grew tired of competing for power and influence with her. Wishing to rid himself of the burden of his power-hungry mother, he made the decision to have her poisoned. Nero was well known for being brutal and ruthless, and would often poison potential rivals in a bid to secure his power, so it wasn't exactly out of character for him to plot the murder of his own mother. But what makes this plot bizarre is the method of assassination. According to some sources, on 3 separate occasions, Nero poisoned his mother, only to be foiled when she took the correct antidote each time and survived. Frustrated by his lack of success, Nero ordered the construction of a mechanical device above his mother's bed that was designed to drop a heavy lead ceiling on her while she slept, and thus crushing her to death. The plot failed, but Nero did not give up on unusual murder methods. His next plot involved a self-sinking ship that was designed to open up at the bottom when at sea, flooding the ship with seawater and drowning all those aboard. Once again the plot failed, his mother managed to swim to shore and survived the ordeal. Frustrated by the failure of these more elaborate plots, Nero resorted to sending 3 assassins to finish the job by sword. Going back to basics proved to be the winning method, and his mother was eventually killed. Number 3. The Poison Toothpaste. Patrice Lumumba was the first democratically elected leader of the Congo and became Prime Minister on the 24th of June 1960 after being a leading figure in the Congolese independence movement which fought for independence from Belgium. Upon becoming Prime Minister, he was immediately faced with a whole host of threatening problems. The army was in revolt, and mineral-rich provinces of his newly independent country were pushing for their own independence. In desperation, he made the mistake of turning to the Soviet Union for help. With the Cold War in full swing, the USA and her allies were alarmed by the prospect of the mineral-rich Congo falling under the influence of the communists, particularly as the Congo was a rich source of plutonium which is needed for atomic weapons. The Soviet Union could not be allowed a foothold in Africa, so plans were put into motion to kill Lumumba. The CIA created a poison which resembled a tube of toothpaste and intended to plant it in Lumumba's bathroom, the idea being that when he next brushed his teeth, he would be fatally poisoned. The plot was never carried out, however, largely due to the objection of the local CIA station chief, who is said to have thrown the poison tube of toothpaste into the local river. Unfortunately for Patrice Lumumba, this did not save him. His newly elected government lasted a mere 12 weeks, and he was removed from power in a violent coup before being executed by firing squad on the 17th of January 1961. Number 2. The Bulgarian Umbrella. Georgy Markov was a Bulgarian dissident writer who defected from the communist regime in 1969. He began working for the BBC in London and used his position in the public eye to sarcastically criticise communist Bulgaria. This criticism did not go unnoticed, and the elites in power in his home country were furious with his unending attacks on their policies and conduct. In an effort to silence and punish him, 2 separate attempts were made on Markov's life. However, both failed, but it's unlikely that the Bulgarian government and the KGB simply gave up. Markov's life came to a bizarre and mysterious end on the 11th of September 1978, 4 days earlier, while waiting at a bus stop on his way to work, he felt a sharp stinging pain in his right leg. He turned around and saw a man with an umbrella, who promptly ran off and escaped in a nearby waiting taxi. Later on that day, he noticed a red pimple had formed in the painful area on his leg, and he rapidly developed a fever. That evening he was admitted to hospital, and sadly he died 4 days later. The cause of death was said to be ricin poisoning, which is the same poison famously used by Walter White in the TV series Breaking Bad. While in hospital, Markov informed police that he suspected the man with the umbrella had poisoned him, and after his death an autopsy was conducted, during which a metal pellet the size of a pinhead was found embedded in Markov's leg in the very spot where he had felt the sharp pain. The pellet contained the lethal ricin, which was released into his bloodstream after being shot into his leg. KGB defectors have since confirmed that the KGB did indeed arrange the murder, and even had several backup plots ready to go, including smearing a poisonous jelly onto Markov's skin. Since Markov's death, the poison umbrella has been used on at least 2 other people, and the method has become infamously known as the Bulgarian umbrella. Number 1. Fidel Castro. Of all of the strange and bizarre assassination plots throughout history, the Cuban leader Fidel Castro seems to have been the target of the majority, and it's believed that there have been over 600 plots to end his life, with the CIA being behind many of those. Castro first became the Prime Minister of Cuba in 1959 and immediately made a powerful enemy in the United States. The idea of a communist regime so close to home was considered dangerous, and at the height of the Cold War, a Soviet foothold in the Americas was seen as a security risk that was just too big to ignore. The CIA began plotting his downfall, yet despite so many attempts on his life, Castro has managed to foil or survive all of them. Plots tended to be either based around poisoning him or blowing him up, but as time progressed the plans became ever more elaborate and bizarre. Perhaps the most well-known plot is the exploding cigar, where a cigar was packed with explosives that when lit would detonate and kill anyone nearby. Castro had a well-known love for cigars, and the CIA intended to slip an exploding cigar in amongst his personal supply in the hopes that he would attempt to smoke it and therefore meet an untimely end. Other strange and odd plots included a poisoned cigar, a handkerchief laced with deadly bacteria, and a poisoned wetsuit. Perhaps the closest the CIA ever came to achieving their goal was with the poisoned milkshake. In 1963, Castro was to be poisoned during his visit to the Havana Hilton. A mafia operative inside the hotel was supposed to slip a poison pill into a milkshake that would be served to Castro, however the pill had become stuck to the freezer in which it was hidden, and when the waiter attempted to rip it free, the pill split, spilling its contents onto the hotel's kitchen floor and putting an end to the assassination attempt. However, the plots didn't just involve killing Castro. One equally bizarre plan involved lacing Castro's clothes with thallium salt, which is the chemical used in hair removal products like Nair. The chemical would be absorbed or inhaled, and it was hoped that this would cause his beard to fall out. The CIA believed Castro's beard to be a symbol of his power, and thought that stripping him of it might weaken his hold over Cuba. For all of their effort, none of these plots succeeded. However, who knows whether such crazy plots are still being cooked up in a government basement somewhere. So that's my choice for 5 of the most bizarre real-life assassination plots. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then be sure to check out some of my other videos, and I hope to see you again soon.